Welcome to mediamelanie Talks TV. I'm Melanie, and today I'm back to talk about the Buccaneers Season 2. Following Episode 2, Holy Grail, I wanted to come on and discuss a big question. Do we think Lizzy and Theo are endgame? And along with that, did Lizzy do the right thing by not giving Nan that letter from Guy? It's a pretty complicated situation. Do we need another love triangle? Is this all one big red herring and Theo and Lizzy are just friends who admire each other? Let's get more into it, but before we do, please go ahead, like this video, subscribe to my channel. I will be here with Buccaneers videos 3 times a week, all during Season 2, and I've got some other shows on my radar as well, including Dexter Resurrection, The Summer I Turned Pretty, and The Institute, a Stephen King adaptation, coming to MGM Plus that's giving these dark Stranger Things vibes. So stick with me for lots of fun TV talk this summer, but for now, we have got a Theo and Lizzy situation to talk about. Theo and Lizzy had an interaction in episode 1 of season 2 where Theo was encouraging Lizzy to go after Hector. He's got a nice jaw, and Hector seems like a really nice guy. Not only is he super attractive, but we find out in episode 2 that he's actually there at Tintagel on this day to get support for a bill he's trying to get passed, having to do with middle class or the working class. Love a man who's for the people, and there's clearly an attraction between Hector and Lizzy. Is Hector going to end up getting hurt in the same way that potentially Theo is going to be hurt, especially now that he knows Nan and his best friend Guy were together on their actual wedding night? Will knowing that, thanks Lord Seadown, push Lizzy right into Theo's arms? Would a best friend do that to somebody? We've already had a sisterhood betrayal from Patty and Nell, and now the potential for Nan's best friend to be involved in a big scandal, which in a way could actually be helpful, right? Because we know Guy is still yearning for Nan. If we can pawn Theo off onto Lizzy and then Nan can just go with Guy, can we do a little spouse swapping here? I don't think so, given that the tone of the time definitely does not support this level of scandal. So I don't know about that. I think if there is a Theo and Lizzy and a Guy and Nan going on, it's got to be kept under wraps. However, there are very clearly some people who are also working against them. Looking at you, Lord Seadown, who straight up told Theo the news about Guy, and Theo went straight to Nan. However, there was quite a bit of Theo and Lizzy content in this episode. From the way that Theo was looking down at Lizzy upon her arrival, maybe it's because, yeah, he's happy his wife's best friend is there, and maybe, he can talk to her a little bit about Nan's unhappiness. He's obviously heard her crying and thinks that she has a broken heart. So is he using Lizzy as more of a sounding board and support, and it's going to turn into something else? It's interesting because from what I've been seeing in the fandom, this is a very polarizing situation. There are people who are 100% Theo and Lizzy are endgame, and then there are others who are like, no, we just don't need another love triangle. So no matter which camp you're in, we can talk through the ramifications of both of those situations, what it could mean for the show. And we are here in the second season. We don't know if there will be a third, and I think that is also dependent on how this plot will progress. If there is a third season, perhaps they'll wrap things up and give us a bow ending. On the other hand, if there's a high likelihood of a season 3, we may get another cliffhanger, and they need all of the drama and scandal they can get to really keep this story going. Edith Wharton's 1938 novel is actually unfinished. I don't know if that works more for or against the continuation of the story, given that the source material is not there once they tell the story that was in the book. And I have not read the book, so I'm unfamiliar with what goes on there. So the fact that this is an unfinished book, maybe that will lend itself to a higher possibility of there being a third season. And if there is, I hope we get this renewal news at some point while this is airing so we can all celebrate it and we're not just left at the end of the season waiting and wondering what is next. Apple tends to renew TV shows and their marketing may not be great. I mean, I don't even know if a lot of people know that the show's Buccaneers exists in the first place. They put all their money into the Severance and Presumed Innocent sort of show. So if the show can gain a little bit more popularity, I also think that that could help get a third season. Could it work to the show's benefit having a story that could continue in any way they want, where they're not so forced to go by the story of the source material. And adaptations are all different. Some follow it pretty closely, some are pretty loose, some are sort of in the middle. But back to Lizzy's arrival here at Tintagel, it's very clear, even though Hector is there and Hector's like, "Ooh, are you chasing me here?" And Lizzy's like, "I'm not ruling it out." But, on this occasion, she came to see Nan. Her first priority is gauging Nan's happiness. They go and have a talk, and Nan is trying to convince Lizzy and herself that she's happy. And at that point, Lizzy is not going to give Nan the letter because she's thinking, okay, Nan's making it work. Nan is happy enough. But things change by the end of the episode when they have that conversation at sunrise, and Nan's like, "You know what? I have been thinking of Guy. I need to give him up." She says now that Guy is gone, she told him to go and she needs to let go of the grief. Nan basically apologizes to Lizzy because they did have a little bit of conflict there and says, Nan told him to go. She needs to let go of the grief and she needs to make this version of her life work for Theo, for me, for Jinny. And also, this life might be important. So she's also prioritizing the ability to make a difference, have an audience, and use her voice and help her sister over her own personal love life and satisfaction. That's a heroine if I've ever seen one. At the same time, though, I don't think it's right that she's depriving herself of this love. And it is very complicated, obviously. It's her husband's best friend who she slept with on the night of their wedding. But this puts Lizzy into a very precarious situation. At the end of their last conversation, Nan says, "I feel like I can breathe again." And Lizzy says, "Same." And that's when we have that mirroring where Lizzy burns the letter. And honestly, that just tore me apart seeing that thing burn, along with Nan burning Guy's shirt, the shirt she had been crying into when Theo, of course, overheard her and knows that his wife has a broken heart. Giving up the smell of the man she loves. How sad is all of this? In terms of the bookended conversations, we had the Lizzy-Nan convo at the beginning and then at the end. But the middle of this episode, a lot of things happen, and Lizzy's given a little bit more context into what is happening. Her and Theo run into each other on that Holy Grail search, and they have kind of a moment together. They're at the stream. Lizzy starts splashing him. They're making a game of it. She loses her bracelet. Theo finds it and puts it back on her. And Theo really opens up to Lizzy here about the fact that his wife does have a broken heart. And Nan eventually says to Lizzy, "I'm trying every day to be a good wife. I think about Guy and I can't bear it. I'm trying to make it work." And so she's in the middle of hearing all of this from Nan and now hearing from Theo his concerns about Nan. And the way Theo brought up the Lancelot, King Arthur, Guinevere of it all, which of course is tied into the Holy Grail, and the alleged them being buried there in that burial chamber. Not only is this love triangle between Lancelot, Arthur, and Guinevere talking about Nan and Theo and Guy, but also potentially opening up the door for this love triangle between Nan and Theo and Lizzy. I think that was a very smart comparison. And while we're talking about literature, does it seem like our Nan and Guy star-crossed lovers at this point? Are we getting a little bit of Romeo and Juliet action in there as well? Kind of. It's funny because I mentioned the Scarlet Letter in my video from last week, talking about whether or not Nan knows the truth about her mom, the fact that she wore that scarlet dress and the meaning of it. So don't forget to go and watch that theory video as well, because we still don't have the answer if Nan really knows who her mom is, because that obviously was not the focus of this episode. But there were just so many moments here where Theo and Lizzy are exchanging these glances and looking at each other. And to me, it reads the potential to be more than just friends. We've got so much yearning on this show already. Give me some Lizzy and Theo yearning as well, right? I mean, can we have too many love triangles? Is that even a thing? I live for love triangles. Like I said in my video this week, it all started for me with the Beverly Hills 90210 of it all, with the Brenda, the Kelly, and the Dylan. By the way, I've always been more of a Dylan girl myself, and there's a meme out there that says something like, your toxicity began with choosing Dylan over Brandon. So maybe that says a lot about the choices I've made in life based on which one I chose on Beverly Hills 90210. And here I am picking the bad boy once again with Guy, because he's the evil one here, if you will. Theo is the good guy. He's this duke. Wanted this love story with Nan, a person who didn't marry him for his title. And meanwhile, she's yearning for the best friend. She did not know that they were best friends in the first place when she met both of them. She did not know that Guy came back for her at some point. And I can't help but think what would have happened if Nan had that information. And similarly, Lizzy not giving Nan the choice to read the letter and make her own decision to go and live that life with Guy or stay here in the life that she's building with Theo, being this Duchess who does have some power here. It seems as though Nan is always going to choose Theo and using her voice and empowering herself and other women. The fact that this poor woman is depriving herself of her true love is driving me crazy. And there are people that probably think this is a very unpopular opinion. Many people have all of the sympathy for Theo and think it should be Nan Theo. Not me. I'm not afraid to own that situation. So as I'm going to continue asking throughout the season, are you Team Guy? Are you Team Theo? And could that potentially change if Theo and Lizzy do get together? Something funny, every time I go to say Lizzy and Theo, I just want to say Leo, so pardon me if I end up doing that, but I'm not against Theo and Lizzy getting together, especially if they have a genuine connection. But then we have poor Hector there on the outskirts. The woman that he loves is into somebody else. It's all very complicated, but you know what? These people are all still like 19, 20 years old. They can't be more than, 25. They're still very young adults. And what we know about young adulthood in our day and age versus back then, these poor people were basically forced into marriage for political reasons and for power and the dowry and all of that stuff. But they were never really given the opportunity to be footloose and fancy free and travel the world and have all of these experiences. Yes, of course, the girls came over to England from New York. And yeah, some of them do have worldly experiences. But overall, they're still very young people who don't have a lot of experience with love and relationships. And the courtship process, of course, looks very different back then than it does now. But just bear in mind, these people are still so young and figuring it out. Of course, there's going to be romantic scandal. There's scandal in real life. There's scandal on TV shows. And I think the Buccaneers is doing it very well. So do I think Theo and Lizzy are Endgame? I kind of hope so, because that could potentially open the door for Nan and Guy to be together. I don't have as much affinity towards Hector right now. We've basically just met his character. So while I'm sympathetic to the fact that sometime in the future, if Lizzy does end up getting with Hector and marrying him, yeah, of course that's going to suck if Lizzy ends up getting together with Theo, but I also think that is going to be more of a slow burn. However, given the fact we're on episode 2 and we're already seeing so much interaction between Lizzy and Theo, I think they're setting the table for it, unless it is all one big red herring and Lizzy and Hector end up with the happily ever after and Nan and Theo and Guy just kind of continue on with their own love triangles. It could also depend on whether or not the show is going to get a third season in terms of how they wrote it, knowing whether or not the show would be continuing after this or not. And sometimes that means middle of the road ending that could go either way. Things aren't necessarily wrapped up, but they give you just enough closure to feel okay about it, but also leaving the door open for more story. Now, did Lizzy do the right thing by not giving Nan the letter? I don't think she did. I think no matter what, even if she was trying to protect her friend's happiness and really feeling out engaging where Nan's head was at with the Guy and Theo of it all, I think she should have given her the letter. The letter did cause problems the last time Nan got a letter from Guy. Of course, Theo found it. But this time, Lizzy could have delivered it in a very secret way. It also could have maybe set Nan off on a path that may not be good. Maybe she would ask the Dowager Duchess, where is Jinny? I'm going to get her, so she could spend her life with Guy, who, the poor dude, is sitting there checking the mailbox for a letter from Nan that's never going to come because Lizzy didn't give it to her and give her the choice in order to make it herself and determine her own fate. So, Theo and Lizzy endgame? Hope so. Lizzy in the letter, she totally screwed it up. What do you guys think? Drop it all in the comments, and be sure to stick with me for all of the Buccaneers Season 2 comment from episode reviews, theories, and discussions like this one, and also the next episode preview. I do have the episode 3 preview up right now, so don't miss that, and stick with me for lots of other fun TV talk all throughout the summer. I really appreciate you watching, and I'll be back again soon. Mediamelanie, clicking off.